All right, guys, we're here live from the warehouse. Our guest today is the one and only Boo Mitchell.
Hello.
Thank God there's only one.
Thank
God.
Thank God.
You know what to say.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
No, but for real, we're glad you came, Boo. You're all over the place, so I'm glad you carved out some time, showed us some love to stop by and see us today.
Man, it's my pleasure. I've been running around Selecto Hits since probably, God, I was like 8 or 9 years old since y'all were on Chelsea.
Oh, wow. Really?
Like-
it goes back that far.
Back in the day. Yeah.
See, and I knew the Mitchell and Phillips family went back, but I never really knew.
Oh.
I mean, obviously the paths crossed, but I never really knew how it all played out.
Oh, yeah, man. Yeah, because my stepdad had a office in y'all's building. That's when they had retail.
Yeah, there's a one-stop on
wow.
Chelsea. Yeah. That's crazy. I had no idea.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Well, it's like you're all over the place anyway. I talked to you, the last time we talked, you were in New York.
I was.
I mean, what were you doing there?
What was New York that time? I was doing, my son Uriah Mitchell was doing a showcase at the Rockwood Music Hall.
Okay. I knew we talked real quick, and you're like, yeah, I'm in New York City walking through the streets. I was like, all right, sounds good. We'll talk later. So, well, that's good. Uriah, your kids kind of followed in the steps. And
Yeah, they got a double dose of it because they sing and rap. I started out as a rapper, in 87. And two of my sons, they both sing and rap. Uriah kind of transitioned. He's more doing kind of pop singing now.
okay, I've seen him, at different Royal Present stuff, and he was always rapping, so I didn't know he was doing more pop.
Yeah, he's doing more singing, and he still raps too, but it's more, it's more kind of mainstream, I guess.
Okay.
A lot of stuff has like a island vibe to it.
Well, and you said you rapped. You had a group, M Team.
The M Team.
Yeah. Now, is it true that you guys were the first full-length rap album?
Yep, we were the first full-length Memphis rap album. Also, first rap group on MTV.
That's really cool. So first rap group, period, on MTV.
Well, from Memphis. Yeah.
Okay. That's unbelievable. And you just decided to get out of the rap game and...
Yeah, it was funny. Everybody was like, when we did our video, Trigger Man was hitting real big, and they were like our homeboys. So Trigger Man is actually in our video.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we shot it in New York with
wow.
like same dudes that did Eric B. and Rakim's Ghetto video, and I think he did some Run DMC stuff.
About what year did you
That would have been.
did the group form?
We started in '87. We put out a single, Rolling Samurai, in '88, because those little Samurai Suzuki Jeeps
Oh,
were
yeah.
out, and that was like my brother Archie had like the first or second one of those in the city.
Okay.
And then about a year later, there was like, they were everywhere, and they used to be like a samurai posse that would ride around Beale Street, like a trail of them. And kickboxers were in back in the day, and the music sounded so good. It's like you pull up beside somebody with a car stereo now, and you just hear.
Oh, yeah. You don't even know how they
back
make
in
it.
the day, it sounded like a concert because they had the tweeters pointed up, and you have your top back, and it would be like a full-on concert.
Oh, wow.
So, but yeah, and we did our second album in like '90, and that video, I think that video hit either '90 or '91.
Okay.
So,
And you just transitioned into... Well, before that, you were playing keyboard and...
Playing keyboards, writing. My life has just been crazy. Let me see. My first paid session as a keyboard player was 1988, and it was for Al Green song that would later win a Grammy. And how it happened is my dad was making a Al Green record, right? And Pop had just bought me and my brother like a drum machine and a synthesizer. So we're in the small room, like by the bathroom. We're in there, rocking out. And Al Green goes to the bathroom and hears us jamming. And he comes back and he's like, Willie, why don't you let the boys play on this next one?
Wow.
And I'm like, next thing I know, I'm toting my stuff upstairs, and it was all just fun. And I got paid $272, which was union scale, and the most money I had at one time. That was pretty cool.
So you were, I mean, well, you were a teenager then. I mean, that
Yeah, I
had
was
to be
17.
that had to be surreal, though. I mean,
Yeah, but
even though your dad was working with all these big people, I mean, you get to
Yeah.
be part of it. That's pretty cool.
yeah, it was a trip. Like, I don't think my life really hit me until I was in my 20s. Like, yeah, that wasn't normal.
I guess if you grow up that way, everything seems normal.
Yeah,
Well, you hit the ground running since then.
I have, and I think part of that is just because I have so much respect for my upbringing and my legacy and stuff that I really just found in my 20s. So it gave me like a reverence for the work that my dad did, reverence for the studio, and it just, I don't know, it kind of changed me. And I have such a great deal of respect for the history. So that's how I, kind of move forward and like, what can I do to perpetuate the legacy and to keep it moving forward?
Definitely.
Well, I mean, one of the things definitely, though, I mean, your dad obviously just transitioned everything,
Yeah, he broke a lot of records. So Pop produced all these Al Green records. Well, before that, he was like the author and the originator of like Memphis soul music, because it literally didn't exist until he invented it in the 50s. So he did that. He basically invented soul music, and about 10 years later discovered Al Green. And at that time when he recorded Al Green, like African American artists weren't selling millions of albums. They were selling singles. So like if you think of like the Motown hits like My Girl and all these records, you don't really have a picture album reference because people weren't really buying albums at the time. Al Green comes along, him and my dad. So Al was like one of the first African American artists to sell millions of albums. He's the only Memphis artist to have 6 consecutive #1 albums.
Wow.
And 7 like consecutive gold albums, 10 #1 singles. Like
My gosh.
nobody's, and they did all of that like in 5 years, from like 71 to 75.
That's incredible.
And yeah, like Justin Timberlake hasn't done it, Elvis hasn't done it, Aretha Franklin, like Otis, Isaac, nobody.
Hey, a special thanks to our sponsor, Prime Transportation Group. Well, like as a kid, did your dad just have you here saying, look, have you there teaching you this stuff, or were you that kid kind of standing around the corner listening?
I was the kid standing around the corner listening. And my dad, he wasn't heavy-handed with it. He wasn't like a pusher. He was more like a puller. So he didn't like force you to do anything. But if you showed interest in something, then he would, pull you along. You're like, oh, you like that? Well, here's this keyboard, or here's this song. He showed me how to play songs. I think the first song I learned how to play was Ray Charles, What I'd Say. So I wanted to play keys, but my grandmother put us in piano lessons at the Beethoven school or something. And we were playing this blum, 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 blum.
Okay.
And I was like, yeah, I don't want to play that. So Pop came home and showed me What I Say. Boom, 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 boom. I was like, yeah, I want to play that. So
Right.
we strategically got kicked out of piano lessons thanks to my brother Archie.
That's great.
Well, your dad being a genius in the business and what he did, he had to have seen your talent and pulled you closer into it, though.
Yeah.
Like you said, I know you said he pulled
He
you,
pulled
but
you, yeah. He didn't,
but he
like,
had to
make
sit
you-
back and be
yeah.
like, okay, let me just tempt him a little bit and see
Yeah,
if he
he
can
would-
run with this.
Yeah, and that's what he did. Like, I think I was about 9, maybe, when the studio thing just like really hit me.
That's
I was
incredible.
Like, yeah, I want to do what he does, and I'd watch him produce and love going to strings and things to
Mhm.
check out the new gear and stuff, because I was really into synthesizers and stuff. So yeah, by the time I was 12, I was going to the studio every day in the summertime and every weekend, like, anytime I could, basically, every waking moment. And then it just kept getting, I'm trying to think what year I think my brother started driving. Yeah, my brother started driving when he was 14. So, yeah, we had a way to get there. So
Yeah.
I
Well,
going
no
there all
doubt,
the
but
time.
it's still incredible. Like, you don't hear that starting that young, that it grabbed you that young. You hear of parents sticking them in and pushing and forcing and all that, but you
Yeah.
don't hear like, oh, it grabbed me at 9 years old.
Oh yeah, man, I was just like convinced. It's so funny because, like, on sidebar, like, I was a huge sports fan. I was really into basketball, football, all these things. But once I started going to the studio, it's like I quit watching because I'd be at the studio.
Yeah.
in the studio.
Right.
So
You didn't have a clue what was
I
going on.
didn't
And
have
probably
a
don't
clue.
today either because you're always in the
I
studio.
really I don't. I keep up with the Grizzlies on Instagram and watching the highlights and stuff. And I mean, I still love it and recognize the talent when I see it. But it's just, I'm never watching the news. I didn't know the Queen was dead until about a week later.
Okay.
Just because I was in the studio doing this session that had me, 18-hour days. You get up at 9, get to the studio by 11, stay to 4 in the morning. And
So you just, I mean, that's lazy as
Yeah.
shit. You can't work longer than 18 hours in a day. But I mean, come on. My gosh.
I was
Oh, my gosh.
scrolling Instagram. I was like, oh shit, the Queen died.
Let me take a moment to reflect.
Yeah, like you're scrolling the Queen down. All right, roll. You get right back to it, right? You
Basically.
just get right back to recording.
Basically, yeah.
Well, you move with so many artists. I mean, I don't know how you keep it all straight. You've got people, you've got to have, I mean, is it just, okay, we'll get to you when we get to you? Like, we've got so much going on.
Man, the iPhone has made scheduling a lot easier. I used to write everything down. But yeah, we've been fortunate to record just all kinds of people, different genres. And that was kind of one of the things we wanted to do when Pop passed away in 2010. And, at that time, Royal was, like, everybody knew Royal Studios from Al Green and Peoples, all the high record stuff. Which that's, soul music, R&B is like in the DNA, is who we are. But I wanted to kind of expand the studio and, just let the world know that it's, that we can record anything. Because, I mean, our legacy is kind of from anything too. It started out as rockabilly, then Al Green stuff hit, but I was trying to make a conscious effort to do that, and we've, since 2010, we've managed to record, we got our first Grammy-nominated country album with Randy Clark a couple of years ago, recorded Wu-Tang Clan, like a couple of albums on them. Who else? We had Gangsta Grass in there the
Yeah,
other day,
yeah.
which is, this bluegrass hip hop group. Melissa Etheridge.
Wow, that's some pretty cool. That's some nice names. I mean, what were the Wu-Tang albums?
So they had an album called A Better Tomorrow that came out a few years ago, and they also, before they put that album out, they auctioned
I was going to
an
ask you
album. We
to
did that
to
one too.
What?
the
Pharmaceutical,
yeah
the AIDS. So
yeah
Wu-Tang sold one album for like $1 million,
something like that.
and it was it was a guy that I think that guy eventually went to jail, but he made the AIDS medicine. There was like a big scandal. He
His
was
name is-
overcharging.
Yeah, his name is Martin something.
Yeah,
Martin something. He's the pharma bro.
yeah. That
Yeah, yeah. And he
this
was
is G-rated, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
He,
that guy.
I forgot
That
what it
freaking guy.
That
So
I mean,
y'all recorded that album or just a song, like the whole album?
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow, that's wild.
Yeah, yeah. It was so funny because RZA, he was telling the story because like Wu-Tang is historically based on samples, and a lot of Memphis samples. They sample a lot of Stax records, sample a lot of my dad's like Willie Mitchell instrumental records, and when he came to Royal, he was like he wanted to use real musicians because I don't know, somebody saw him in a music store and was like, some bass player was like, "You RZA?" Yeah. It's like, man, you make it hard for cats like us to eat because you don't use real musicians. And RZA was like, okay. He was like, felt some type of way. He was like, I grabbed a theory book on the way because he plays everything. So he came down and we used Lester Snell from Stax, Lester Snell was Isaac Hayes' piano player and orchestrator. So
Okay.
Lester's playing on, all those, and he's playing piano on Shaft, just to give you an idea who he
Yeah.
is.
yeah.
And then we had Reverend Charles Hodges from the High Rhythm section, and Reverend Hodges is playing on like every Al Green hit and Peoples, all that stuff. So we had those two cats, and then some a couple of younger guys on drums and guitar. And man, we probably made 18 songs from scratch.
No
Oh,
shit.
wow.
And we recorded it to sound kind of OG, so it sounds like samples, but it's not. It sounds
That
like
is cool.
they sampled old records.
So did you go get all these artists to come in and all these musicians to come in and
I got I got the OGs. So that's the cool thing about Royal. When people come, they know we have connection with like legacy musicians. So that's part of the magic that draws people to Royal, to Memphis, because these legends are still around.
Absolutely. So, what was it like? Not to get get back on. What was it like to work with somebody like the RZA? Like he's like
That dude is badass.
he's unbelievable.
Yeah, he is. He's man, super talented. He's a real humble guy and just amazingly talented. And most of the badasses that I work with are completely humble and down to earth. I remember we took him. I was hanging out at this sushi bar in Cordova called Rain at the time.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I want to take y'all to my favorite bar, blah, blah, blah. And it's like way out here. They're coming from the studio. They would fall asleep. Like, damn, man, how much? But they came and, took pictures with the chefs and stuff. So, super cool guy.
So who was all down here? Like
It was just RZA for that. They put the vocals on in New York.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So I was going to ask you probably the most important thing that I know you from is the 201 albums.
That's
On
great. I love it. There's
201
something to that. Yeah.
on the Bum Rush Entertainment.
Bum Rush Entertainment. Oh,
I had to look. I had to
My
look.
first rap label.
That was 1998.
Dang.
And then 2002, that was the second
The
one.
second one, Get
Yeah.
Loose with It. You know, it was so I made my transition from rapper. My family opened a club on Beale Street in '93, and you know, I went to help out with that and got kind of pulled into running a nightclub thing.
Yeah.
Why not?
But that was where, you know, I learned a lot of business stuff from managing the club. But I started out at the club like bussing, waiter, bouncer, bartender. I was the best bouncer.
Welcome to family business, right?
Yeah, I'd be like, excuse me. Management says you have to leave.
This isn't
And they'd be
me.
like,
Please don't hit
all
me.
right.
Yeah.
Like, hit me if you want to.
Yeah, like a guy like this, I mean, he must be a badass. So I'm gonna go ahead and leave here now. Like this guy's got
Pretty much how it
this
went.
guy's got some confidence. I'm getting
I'm
out
outta
of
here.
here. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we only had to stroke a few. But so it was like at the club I learned, I also learned live engineering, which I came from the studio world, and like running live sound is a completely different animal. Oh my God. I just remember the first band I was running sound was feedback everywhere. I had everything running through the mains. It was bad. But, you know, I cut my teeth, figured it out. Managed to have some cool people on stage, like Michael McDonald showed up one night
Okay.
starting with the band.
That's cool.
Some of the Temptations. We even did an Al Green concert. And that was, you know, so I kind of transitioned from rapping to doing that. And while I was focusing more on the club, I would still, you know, go to the studio like late at night, 3 a.m, and write songs or mess around and go home, go to bed. But my brother was still full time at the studio, and he discovered 201, and he recorded a bunch of cool stuff like bunch of Player Fly
Oh,
and
yeah.
Gangster Black, their first
I
records.
guess what I
were cut
recall
out.
from Archie Baldhead.
Archibald,
Yeah,
yeah,
for sure.
That Getting It On
The-
record
the-
was cut on a. My brother cut that on a 8-track cassette recorder
Are you kidding me?
in a little room by the bathroom.
That's
and
a
mixed
classic
it.
album, though. I mean,
Yep. Yeah. So that's all that stuff was happening at Royal. I'm still finding out records that were made at Royal while I was at the club. It was like a Tom Jones album cut. That one slipped by. That was a Boz Scaggs record cut too that slipped by me. What else? Yeah, it was some Robert Cray. It was a bunch of records cut in the mid-90s that I just was not there.
so
That's crazy, though. I mean, that.
whole albums, like days and weeks.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's
'cause-
all these things transition. These big name artists that
Yeah.
came in to see your dad and to be
Yeah.
part of the genius that he was.
Yeah, truly. And yeah, I was at running a club on Beale Street as a full time.
For sure.
I can't imagine. How long did you do that?
We did that until '98, and it was like our club opened. Man, I think the year that they allowed you to drink till 5 a.m. on Beale Street. So
Okay,
that you can put that on top.
that's a hell of a time to. That's a hell of a time to come in.
What a time to be alive! It
Yeah.
was. Yeah, it was fun. Montel Jordan played our club before he was famous. Like we're
Oh,
like the
yeah.
first people to hear "This Is How We Do It" in Memphis.
Really?
Yeah, because I think Johnny Walker was. She was like the president of Def Jam or something at the time. She was a radio DJ here. I think she was on K97, but yeah, she ended up running Def Jam and brought Montel Jordan. Brought him to Willie Mitchell's on Beale Street. He's a real tall cat.
That was a big hit. That was a
Yeah, he
Yeah.
came. I was like, damn, that's a good one.
One, it's still mixed in commercials. There's a commercial running right now. I know I hear it all the time.
It's
I can
on the
hear that
radio
song.
somewhere right
Yeah.
now.
Uh,
But yeah,
Hey guys, we want to give a shout out to one of our sponsors, Memphis International Records.
How so? To the actual big song you did, the big artist. How did the Bruno Mars come to fruition?
Oh man, so it's funny. So remember we were cutting those 201 records. I would always take them to K97 to try to get them played. And there was this program director, Eileen Nathaniel. She would always take a meeting with me, and she would always go, "I don't hear the record, boo." I'm like, "Damn, take another one." "I don't hear it, boo." She was kind of, she was tough. And so flash forward to 2014. I'm, driving to work, and my phone's ringing, and it's Eileen Nathaniel. And I'm just looking and like scared.
She's gonna say, "I'm not hearing it, boo." I'm not hearing
I'm like,
it.
"Why is the principal calling?"
Yeah.
I'm like, "Hello? Hey, boo." I'm like, "Hey." And she's like, "I got these producers. They're looking for some talent." And she told me their names, but I was like driving. I was like, "Who the hell did she say? Mick Ronson and Jeff somebody." So I was trying to look them up, but I couldn't remember. And I was like, "It's cool, Eileen. I'll, get some singers together." And because it's Mark Ronson's album, and when they started out, his production buddy, Jeff Basker, is the guy that produced all the Fun albums and like some Kanye West records. But anyway, Jeff had the idea. He was like, "Mark, we should rent a car in New Orleans and drive from New Orleans to Chicago up through the Delta and find the next soul singer." So they were stopping in, open mics, choir rehearsals, studios, auditioning singers. And when they got to Memphis, they, hit us up. So they came in, and I had singers on deck to sing for them. And by this time, I had got the names right. I was like, "Holy shit, this is like the Amy Winehouse dude." And
Yeah.
like, that dude did all the lights. I'm like, damn. So I'm kind of trying not to freak out about them, but they are freaking out about Royal because
Sure.
the artifacts, because the studio has like been the exact same since 1970. And the Ann Peoples, "I Can't Stand the Rain" drum device, that thing is there. They're like just geeking out about everything. And finally, Mark's like, "Man, we got these people here. We should listen to them sing."
Oh yeah.
So they did, and we hung out for a while. They were there for a while. And when they got ready to go, Mark stops at the door. He's like, "Hey man, I want to make my album here." I was like, "Okay." I gave him a card. A lot of people come in and kind of get caught up in the Royal moment, and then they go back and forget about it.
Sure.
So I just, I really didn't think he was going to call back, but 2 days later I get a call from a young lady with a very British accent. Like, "Hello, boo, this is Nicola. I represent Mark Ronson," and blah, blah, blah. It's like, he wants to come back in, it was like in a week. From when they were there, I was like, okay. And I had another session booked. The first time I've taken a deposit for studio time was this other session with Keith Sykes.
Yeah.
And but Mark wanted those days, and I'm trying to negotiate. She's like, "No, he can't. These are the only dates he's gotten. He wanted like 11 days. So I called Keith. I'm like, "Keith, hey man, I gotta give your money back." He wasn't too happy about it because I think he had people coming in from out of town, and I didn't know anything about Bruno Mars or anything. I didn't know what Mark wanted to do, but I had that gut feeling like I've got to do this session for some reason. It's like nagging me. And
Did you get the whole? But that's the point of the deposit. Like that's why I locked you in.
yeah, and I was like, dude, I'll give you money back. I'll give you 3 days free and your money back.
Exactly.
And, because I mean, I was prepared to do that because I don't know. Somehow I knew something was going to happen. So anyway, Keith, they recorded somewhere else. Mark comes in. Session 1, day 1. It's Mark Ronson, Jeff Basker, Emil Heine, who had just produced Summertime Sadness on Lana Del Rey, Trombone Shorty in his horn section, 2 of the Dap Kings, Steve Jordan, who is the current drummer for the Rolling Stones and John Mayer's producer, Willie Weeks, who is playing bass on Donny Hathaway and half the soul records that you like from the 70s. Kevin Parker from Tame Impala.
I mean, my gosh.
This is day 1.
Yeah,
one.
day one. He came rolling.
I bet
deep.
you're like, I bet you all wanted to call Heath. You're like, Keith, I've got Keith, please come back. This is too much.
I was calling people. I was like, dude, there's no records being made anywhere in the world. They're all here.
Yeah.
So, start cutting this just amazing music. Oh, and they had the cherry on top was Michael Chabon, who is a Pulitzer Prize-winning author that writes all of the new Star Wars series. If you ever watch any of the new Star Wars episodes from the past 10 years, at the end you see written by Michael Chabon.
Jeez.
And he was writing the lyrics for the album. But anyway,
Now, does he normally write lyrics for albums? He just did this for them?
Mark asked him to do it.
That's incredible.
And I mean, this record.
It's what you can get people to do. I mean, when you have name.
Yeah, because the album, which I don't know how publicly Mark talked about the album, was a concept album, and the concept, like the story of the whole album, is about 2 friends that went to Vegas. They win all this money. They somehow get caught up with, like an escort or something that hangs out with them. Both of them kind of fall in love with her. One of them falls really hard, and she ends up robbing both of them and leaving them stranded 9 exits north of Las Vegas. So when you go back and listen to the album,
Yeah.
it starts out 9 exits north of Las Vegas.
Jeez.
Oh, my gosh. Sounds like a freaking Dateline episode or something.
Go back and listen to Uptown Special.
That's
with
crazy.
that in mind, because the lyrics are crazy. But anyway, during that 11-day session, Mark, he plays me the demo to Uptown Funk, because I think all they had was like maybe verse 1 and part of the chorus. And he's like, hey man, I got this song. I want Bruno to come here and sing. And inside I'm going, Bruno Mars. But outside I'm like, all right.
I mean, if you really think so, I mean, that we can probably make it work.
And he plays me that demo, and I'm like, holy shit, that's gonna be cool, because Uptown Funk, it kind of started out as a parody to the Trinidad James Gold All in My Watch. Don't believe it.
Oh,
Just
yeah.
like,
Everything Gold, I think so.
yeah,
Or something.
oh yeah,
Or something like that.
yeah, exactly. Which I had only heard like probably 4 months prior. My kids played it for me on the way from school, and it was the most hilarious thing. Like, I almost had a wreck. I was like, whoa. And then they showed me a picture. I almost had another wreck. But I was going, man, they took the most ratchet rap song in the history of ratchet rap songs and flipped it and made a pop song. 3 months later, Bruno shows up. Show up with Bruno for that session. They stayed like another 11 days. I think this time they had Mystical with them. Who the hell else was with them? David Bowie's guitar player, Carlos Alomar. Some more people. Anyway, so Bruno was there for like 3 days total. Started working on Uptown Funk. They're like getting the structure of it and working the music out. And they still hadn't quite finished the lyrics. So it was Bruno's last day. It was his last day there. It was like Sunday night. I think he had a plane to catch at 8 a.m. Monday morning. And my aunt, Yvonne Mitchell, cooked a soul food dinner for him on that last night. It's kind of like a tradition we started at Royal with Boz Skaggs in 2012, where if a band is in there for an extended period of time, we kind of, she cooks a meal and they meet the family and stuff, and just kind of like an icebreaker.
Makes them a quick dish.
Yeah. Quick dishes, few dishes, yeah. So she cooks this amazing meal, and after they finish the meal, like Bruno wrote the hook on this other song that Mystical's singing on, like on that album. The song that comes on before Uptown Funk is called Feel Right. And Bruno wanted like a all lady, like there was like this background chant kind of party thing that he wanted all the women in my family. I was like, boo, is your mom and your aunt and your daughters, are they still here? We want to get them on this background part. So it's like, yeah, I gathered them up, and the song is like, my wife's a school teacher, right? And some of her school teacher buddies actually showed up to the dinner, and they're on this record too, but the hook is like, it feel good in this mother. And the ladies go, right. My whole hood in this mother. Right.
That's awesome.
So they did that. The ladies leave, and it's just me, Mark, Bruno's writing buddy, Philip Lawrence. He's the guy in the Uptown Funk video with like thick eyebrows and glasses. Cameron Whalum, who is Bruno's trombonist, who's from Memphis. And like Bruno's engineer or whatever, Charles. So it's just at this point it's like midnight, bunch of dudes there. So they start writing the rest of the lyrics of Uptown Funk, and the Royal has like the green hallway with gold records, like right before you go into the control room. And there's like master tapes on the shelf. So they're writing there, they're going through it and going through the Skippy and Make a Dragon Want to Retire and all the stuff. And it gets to be about 4 a.m, and they were drinking Jameson, but they ran out. And this had happened before when Mark was first there, but it was like a Saturday night, and I was able to go to one of my buddy's bars on Beale Street and get a bottle. I think I got that bottle from Sekisui SPR from Jimmy.
Jimmy Ishii. Oh, wow.
Yeah. Jimmy's like my best friend.
Oh, he's a good guy. I've known Jimmy for a while too.
Sweetest guy. But this time it's like, it's 4 a.m, Sunday night, Monday morning. It's like everybody's gone. And I'm like, shit, what am I going to do? So I'm like, man, it's got to be some booze in my dad's office. So I go in Pop's office, and next to his, he's got a trustee Grammy, it's like a lifetime achievement for a producer. And next to it is a bottle of Four Roses bourbon. It's like bottle 8 of 100.
Oh my God!
Signed in gold by the distiller, and sorry, Pop. So I get the bottle, and I crack it open. I'm walking back to the back, and Bruno just happened to be the first dude that I got to, and he had his cup up on the ledge. He was like, "Yeah, Boo Mitchell, fill my cup, put some liquor in it." It's like, and by 4:30, that lyric was in the song. And shit, we started recording at about 5 in the morning, and we put Bruno in the vocal booth, put him on a nice, $20,000 Neumann, and me and all the other guys in the control room, and we're, it sounds good, so we're up jamming, right?
Yeah.
And after about 3 takes, Bruno goes, "Hey man, I want to do the vocal in there with you guys." And I instantly hear like the Psycho shower music. I'm like, oh shit. I'm like, oh, okay, because you can do a vocal in the control room, but the music's coming out of the speakers, so that's all this technical stuff. You got to pull in headphones or put your speakers out of phase, like all this crap I didn't have time to do. So, from a previous Bobby Blue Bland session, that vocal was done in the control room. I was like, oh yeah, a SM57 won't feed back. So I handed him a 57.
Yeah.
That's
and
awesome.
stood in front of the speakers. He now at this point, everybody's in the control room. We're all crowded around Bruno. I'm standing like right in front of the speaker to try to block the feedback. He does the vocal a few times, and we're just like, everybody's super pumped. And at this point, it's about 6 or 6:30. Sun's coming up, and he's got a plane to catch, so we get him out, There's a picture of me and Bruno at Royal. I've got a blue shirt on, and my eyes are so red because I've been up,
Yeah.
and he's literally glowing.
Of course he is.
Like, damn. So anyway, get a call from Charles, his engineer, about a week later. He's like, "Man, the vocal we did on the SM57?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "We're keeping that for the record." And my first thought was, why? And he was like, "Man, we've been trying to duplicate that energy and that sound." He was like, "Man, we've been doing vocals in studios, closets, like trying to capture whatever was happening at Royal, and they were like, we couldn't get it, and we're keeping that." So when you hear Uptown Funk, it's 89, 99 SM57 on the vocals.
That's crazy.
And I mean, that $89 mic won me a Grammy. So,
Well, and aside from all the talent, I mean, Royal being Royal and staying, like you said, exactly the way your dad had it. Everything's original. Like,
yeah,
that's what gives it that unique.
Yeah, it's really crazy, man, because Uptown Funk is the first record made in Memphis to win a Record of the Year Grammy. The only other record that was even nominated for Record of the Year was Shaft in '71. And then making me the only Memphian to win a Record of the Year Grammy, which is kind of weird.
That's cool, though.
It's like, okay, we'll take it.
Absolutely. Just good. Just you and Archie in the bathroom playing.
From the empty.
Yeah, playing in the bathroom. Yeah, that's
That's really cool, man.
So mine, ironically, this year I won another Grammy for Cedric Burnside. So my first Grammy as a producer, and on that record, there's vocals going through the SM57.
I bet. Every time
now. So that was your call this time, right? Like, hey, let's try
Did
this
it on
sound
purpose
here. Exactly. There you go. That's right. That is fantastic.
Well, man, we can't thank you enough for coming up here and
Oh, man, bro, y'all look Selecto. Y'all are family. This is like my second home. So anytime you want me, you got me.
Well, we've got
All
plenty
right.
to still talk to you about. There's no doubt about that.
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
You
sir. I'll
you
be
showed
back
some
for part
love
2.
carving out town. Oh, part 2, yeah, definitely.
3, whatever.
We've got
Yeah.
plenty of them. There's so much, and I'm sure the next time you win a Grammy, when you're done, coming off all the other big time stuff, you can come back over here and slum it with us.
Absolutely.
And
Need more
d-
57s.
There you
More
go.
57.
There you go.
57s.
Yeah, I mean, if anybody hasn't been by Royal, you have to. It's so surreal. It's just the coolest, most eclectic. It's just the most awesome place.
Thank you,
It's really great. You do great things, and we're all like family. We've known you for so long anyway, and but still, you showed the love and came by to see us, and we really, really love having you here.
My pleasure, brothers.
Yes, sir, man. Thank you so much.
All right.
And that wraps it up with this episode of Live from the Warehouse with Boo Mitchell.
Till next time, we'll see you. Royal presents Boo Mitchell.
Yes, sir.
We out.
Somebody stop, pop,